Oh, what is the upskis, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the GXHockeyCast. We're on episode 94. Ryan Smith, going way back. There's not many 94s of my little hockey show, where once a week I go through all of the major news and what's happenings in the NHL, mainly focusing in on the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Calgary Flames. Those are my two favorite teams, but I'll be talking about all 32 teams on this podcast. So what is on tap for today? Well, we got to take a look at the playoff race that is still ongoing, taking a look at the hottest teams coming into the playoffs and the coldest teams coming into the playoffs. We got a familiar face in that cold backing into the playoffs. We'll take a deep dive into what's going on over there, wink, wink. A huge point streak has ended. We have a player has finally escaped Russia. We have record-breaking point statistics this week. There's a lot to talk about, so let's just dive into it. We're starting in Toronto because we have to. Austin Matthews hit 60 goals, and a little bit of not really a shocker, but he is the only active player with two 60-goal seasons under his belt. And I was like, oh snap, that is true. And I was like, wow, that's pretty wild that Ovechkin hasn't had two 60-goal seasons under his belt, and he is on pace, or currently, the guy that could become the greatest goal scorer of all time, and he's doing really well. Ovechkin is right now. Not to, the beginning of the season was rough, but Austin Matthews, man, watching him score that 60th, very, very awesome. I mean, that celebration, you can feel it, man. Like, he is going for 70 right now. He is really going to try for it. It's a huge motivation. And now the conversation of, will Austin Matthews become the greatest goal scorer of all time? It's a really hard conversation to have. He is so early in his career, and yes, his numbers, his projections look fantastic. He is on pace and slightly above what Ovechkin has done in his career, but we have to give a shout out to Ovechkin and Stamkos, all the guys that scored those 60-goal seasons. I think that's it. In that deadish puck era where goal scoring was much lower than it was right now, we're starting to see a lot more 60-goal seasons. I think 3 last year with McDavid, Pasternak, and there's one more that escapes me, but we're starting to see 60-goal seasons a bit more common now, possibly a 70-goal season, which we haven't seen in a very long, but before I was born, I think. So, well, no, that doesn't sound right. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So, yes, Austin Matthews is projecting to maybe potentially become the greatest goal scorer of all time. What is a more certain bet is that he's going to become the greatest goal scorer in Toronto Maple Leafs history, and quite possibly the greatest Toronto Maple Leaf of all time. Marner's going to be there with them, Nylander, but I think it's safe to say that it's Austin Matthews' thing to win, to become the greatest Toronto Maple Leaf of all time. If Marner, Nylander overshadow him somehow, that would just be amazing, but I highly doubt it. Austin Matthews will become the greatest Toronto Maple Leaf of all time. No disrespect to Matt Sundin. I mean, that guy played with Toronto, he played through a big part of that dead puck era. So Sundin's numbers as a Toronto Maple Leaf do not reflect how incredible Matt Sundin was as a player. You look at his numbers with the Nordiques before the dead puck era, he was having 100-point seasons, and he comes to the Leafs and he was mostly a point-per-game guy, but that was very top-notch for the time. I mean, not a lot of guys were getting a lot of points. Do your research back in the day. I mean, I think the Rocket was one a few times. There were like 42 goals. It was rare to have 50-goal guys. So what are my opinions on Matthews becoming the greatest goal scorer of all time? I mean, I want it more than anything, but honestly, we got to wait until Ovechkin gets there. I'm not even really ready to have that discussion with Matthews. It's so hard to predict the future. What happens? What if goal scoring goes back down? I mean, yes, it's going up right now, and it seems like it's starting to peter out a little bit, but who's to say that there isn't going to be a lockout or something and Matthews loses a year or a season or something? And obviously there's always the injury concern. Matthews has already dealt with a couple of injuries early in his career around his wrist. You shoot with your wrist, but Matthews is a very dynamic, creative goal scorer. And that's something that's a little bit different between he and Ovi. Ovi is just an unstoppable goal scorer. He can score in his office, and he's done it hundreds and hundreds of times, and the league hasn't been able to stop him. And with Matthews, it's his deception that is so hard for goaltenders to track. His shot is very sneaky, it's fast, it's incredibly accurate, and that's what I'm very curious about Bedard as well. Like, once the team starts to form up around that young man, his shot is terrifying. It's so fast and powerful and accurate. It reminds me of Sakic, but yeah, I don't know if Connor Bedard's going to become a goal scorer as highly as Matthews, but I think he is going to be one of the top goal scorers of Connor Bedard. But back to Matthews, I think he's going to get up there. It all depends, right? Like, I think it's just too hard to predict. Like, who knows how the league is going to change over the next decade or so over Matthews' career. Is that a new trend that's going to happen where the elite guys can play until they're 40, 42 years old at a point per game level? And we're seeing it with Crosby right now. We're seeing it with Ovechkin, who's still scoring at not an elite level, but he is up there now. And Crosby, we'll talk about him later. He hit an incredible milestone, and he's still playing at an elite level. Some people questioning that eliteness now, but he's still a point per game guy, still crushing it, and the team around him is getting weaker. And Matthews seems to be a pretty smart guy. He likes to sign the shorter deals. He seems pretty damn committed with Toronto, but once he locks down a lot of the franchise records, I wouldn't be shocked especially if he doesn't win a cup here in Toronto, he's got to win a cup. So he could jump around and who knows, he can continue to hop onto really good teams, maybe at a decent price, maybe do a Patty Kane type thing, latch on to a hot team going in and try and help them get over the hump. Who knows? It's way too early to judge where Matthews' career is going to end up, but we can at least say that so far so good, right? I think he's doing pretty good for himself, and he is on his way to, I'm hoping at minimum, it looks very strong that he's going to crush, well, I won't say crush, but he's going to hit or hopefully pass the Ovechkin 65 goals. I would love for him to hit 66, 69 giggity, or yes, I would love for him to hit 70. It's, I'm not going to say it's impossible. It's going to be hard, but it's Matthews, man, and he seems very determined right now. The guy is on fire. He's crushing it, and that's a really good thing. Also, not just the only Maple Leaf that is turning it on right now. Fucking Tyler Bertuzzi has come to life, thankfully. It looked very scary early on. It almost looked like maybe another Nick Ritchie situation here where we got this guy that has all the things that we need, as power forward, gritty, he's got that snot, and he can be a menace in front of the net. We've seen him crush in the playoffs what he did with the Bruins last year. Even though they didn't win, he had his guy. He was doing his job out there. And yeah, we're starting to see that Bertuzzi coming through right now, which is pretty freaking awesome. And the question now that Simon Benoit got his extension, a really good one, by the way. Hopefully, it's cheap enough that if it doesn't work out, they can bury it, and it could also be an amazing bargain contract. He seems to be fully committed with the Leafs now that they committed to him after Anaheim booted him out. He was like, you know what? Fuck you, Ducks. Fuck you, everybody that doubted me, and there you go. He secured the bag, 3-year deal with the Toronto Maple Leafs, and that's fantastic. Now for the other two guys, Domi and Bertuzzi, what are we going to do? Are they purely going to be a 1-year deal, and is Bertuzzi going to end up like playing so good in the playoffs that he kind of outprices, I don't know what I'm trying to say, he just outmarkets what the Leafs could offer him? $5 million right now seems like a pretty, I would say, okay deal. It was disastrous at first, but now it's leveled out to be, it's pretty all right. I can't really complain about I can't say his name, Bertuzzi, and the Domi deal, very similar. Like, I think less scrutiny has been on Domi. He can't put the puck in the net very much, but he's a very talented passer. He brings that intensity. He seems to love to play here, which is great. Love seeing Ty Domi in the crowd. That guy almost got knocked the fuck out in the crowd. Do not get in Ty Domi's face if you are near him in the crowds. Just leave Ty alone, be respectful. He will kick the shit out of you, and it will be amazing, and I would love to see it. Anyway, I don't know what's going to happen with those guys. I would love to have Domi and Bertuzzi back. That would be great. I think they fit in pretty nicely, and now that they're starting to, it looks like they're solidified in their spots a little bit. We'll talk about Sheldon Keefe in a moment here, but yeah, they're starting to seem like they're fitting in their spot, found their role, and starting to click pretty good. So we'll see if they can carry that into the playoffs, but something that has concerned me, and I imagine a lot of Leaf fans out there, is the continuous line blendering that Sheldon Keefe is doing with this team. I mean, it seems like there's a new lineup every single night. I can't get a gauge on what line is what, because there's just a different guy here. The defensemen it's just a fucking yard sale back there. Like, it seems like Morgan Rielly is solidified with Lyubushkin one game, and then the next game it's Liljegren, and then the next game, like, oh my god, like, I don't like that. I really would like to have some solid chemistry with some lines and have a role and know what they're doing and not being in this blender. I know that injuries are playing a role in that, like, for half the D-core was injured for a few games there, so that wasn't ideal, but I know people don't like Connor Timmins because he can't play defense as a defenseman, but he could chip in some points. It helps. He got Matthews his 60th goal. I mean, I like Connor Timmins, even though he doesn't play good defense. But hey, he puts up points, and I know people don't like it. It's fine. It doesn't matter. But, also on that, got to say, shout out to the Leafs for playing decently and pretty darn good, I would say, overall over the last week. With a pretty depleted roster, they've done well battling through that, and Mitch Marner not being in the lineup has been a massive loss for the team. That guy plays in every major aspect of the team. He is the offensive driver of the team. He is a major part of the penalty kill, and obviously a major part of the team. He's Mitchy Marner. So, yeah, they've done pretty well navigating the waters without Marner. Obviously, Matthews hasn't been scoring as much. I think, 5 games there he didn't score. Oh, no. But, obviously the team is missing Marner, but I would much prefer at this time of the season where they're pretty much locked in for the playoffs. We don't know necessarily if they're going to be in a wild card spot or third place. I don't really think it matters at this point. It's a hard matchup regardless. If the team has a team in mind that they would like to play, I mean, then make it happen. I at this point, I don't know. Like, Bruins scare me, the Florida Panthers scare me, and Tampa scares me. So every team scares me. There is no easy matchup this year. It's going to be one of the best first rounds I think we've seen in a minute. Most first rounds, the first round of the playoffs is my favorite thing ever in sports. It's just so much fun. It's so chaotic, and just, that's where a lot of the big upsets happen, mostly to the Leafs, but it is what it is. But yeah, first round of the playoffs, that's my bread and butter. Usually after that, it starts to decline because of injuries and so on, but there's generally always just gem after gem after gem. But some years it can be a little lean, but this year looks like it's going to be a lot of fun, and I really hope that the Leafs can have some more fun this year. I mean, another first-round exit this season would mean a decline, going backwards, and that's never a good look, right? Maybe they can play the card that, we had a shift in management and a whole new outlook on the team. This isn't necessarily Brad's team just yet. I mean, there's definitely some players here that he's not loving, and he's been trying to bring in players that is more of his style. So the team isn't complete, I don't think, in Brad's mind, but he's playing with what he has right now. Kind of similar to what Dubas is doing over there. That's not the team that he would build out of the gate, but you can see him starting to bring in those, he brought in Michael Bunting's back, and he's starting to do that again, right? So you get starting to see Dubas building the Leafs version 2.0 over there in Pittsburgh, with Crosby. And speaking of Crosby, he hit a pretty friggin' impressive milestone this week. He hit his 19th point per game season, and that ties the great one, Wayne Gretzky. And I'm feeling pretty confident that Crosby can do another point per game season next year. He's looked excellent, and luckily he's been doing really well with injuries over the last few years. He's been playing healthy and producing at a good rate. It seems the Pittsburgh team is going to get weaker and weaker bit by bit, season by season. I don't know what who knows what Dubas is going to do this offseason. There's a lot of work to be done with the Pens. But yeah, I feel really confident that Crosby could get a point per game as long as he stays healthy. Yeah, and I think he can do that, hit 20 and pass Wayne Gretzky. And it's kind of hard to break Wayne Gretzky's records. He kind of has a lot of them, and a lot of them are extremely tough to break. So good on you there, Sid the Kid. You're doing fantastic. And, I know a lot of people want him to stay as a Penguin forever, but man, I think it would be so much cooler if he just went to Colorado. Just for a year or two, why not? Who cares? I don't know. I know a lot of people like the nice look of the stat sheet when it's just Pittsburgh all the way down, and people will refer to Mike Modano where it's just Dallas, 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 Detroit. And you're like, wait, what? And same thing with Martin Brodeur. That one was really fucked up when he went to St. Louis for 8 days and then retired. It was like, oh, shouldn't have done that one, Martin. That one didn't make any sense. He was super old anyway. Well, speaking of goalies, New York Rangers backup/starting goaltender, who knows? Jonathan Quick has just become the most winningest U.S.-born goaltender of all time. Congratulations, Jonathan Quick. A guy that looked like a year ago his career may have been Dunyan rings with the Los Angeles Kings. They ship him off to Columbus in just very questionable fashion. I mean, everything that Quick has done for them, signed a huge ticket, won multiple Stanley Cups, been an amazing goaltender and human and advocate for the Los Angeles Kings, and then they do that and ship him off to Columbus. He took that in stride. So does Columbus. They gave him a tribute video, for God's sakes. He didn't even play a game for them. And then he goes to New York, and everyone was like, ooh, I don't know about that one. Will that work? And he has possibly saved the Rangers this season. Who knows where they would have been if they didn't have Jonathan Quick back there backing him up. Well, Shesterkin dealt with his struggles this season, and Quick has gone in there and has been outstanding, and freaking good on him, man. And now the question is he the greatest U.S.-born goaltender of all time? Oh, man. It's a tough one. I mean, you got Tim Thomas there, which is a tough one. He may have had some of the best American-born seasons of all time, but he was a late bloomer, and he was up and down a lot. But yeah, Tim Thomas, people could argue that. You got Van Beesbrook, I think. I don't know, that's a tough name, but a little bit before my time, but I have to be aware of some of the older ones as well. Mike Richter, another former New York Rangers goaltender. He had some pretty damn good years. And the guy that I would put up there the highest is probably Miller time. Ryan freaking Miller, man. I mean, him in the 2010 Vancouver Olympics was just, oh my God. That guy definitely took a couple years off of my life. The saves he was making in that freaking tournament, man, he almost won that gold medal for the United States that year. He was damn near unbeatable, especially down low. If you anything fucking halfway down the net, it's not going in on Ryan Miller at that point. He was incredible for the Buffalo Sabres for years, kind of underrated in Vancouver, and there was a bunch of weird spots he made some visits to along his way, but he has been an incredible goaltender as well. But I don't know, man. That's a tough one. Ryan Miller never won the Cups. Quick won the Cups. He's got the Conn Smythe. He's now the most winningest U.S.-born goaltender. He has a very good argument. He's going to go into the Hall of Fame whenever he retires. And yeah, he's definitely going to be a top 10 goaltender of all time, at least, I would say, with Jonathan Quick. There's been a lot of good goaltenders, but that is an amazing achievement right there. And you know what? We're not even done with the goaltending achievements right here. We got Marc-Andre Fleury. Now, I can't remember if I have or haven't mentioned this yet, but he has become the second all-time winningest goaltender in history, behind only Martin Brodeur. He has 691 wins, but Marc-Andre Fleury passed Patrick Waugh this year, and he now has 560 wins in his career. That is an insane achievement, but you can see that gap between he and Martin Brodeur. It seems like I don't think anyone's going to touch that record, especially the way that goaltending is trending right now, where you're starting to see more of a 1A, 1B splitting the net is becoming a lot more common. I know Martin Brodeur has coming out chirping or saying something that all goaltenders don't play fucking 79 games like I used to back then, but Martin Brodeur played a majority of his career during the dead puck era behind a team that played a very trappy defensive style where they would generally, keep shot suppression very low, where Martin's probably only seeing like 16 to 20 shots a night on average, where goaltenders now are seeing much more rubber. And the game is completely different. I know why people are pissed off at Martin Brodeur, and I don't agree with his comments either. Goaltenders should not be playing that many games. How many times did we see Frederik Andersen, when he played for the Leafs, drag them through the season playing excellent, and he just runs out of gas when it comes to the playoffs because they're playing him like 60, 65 games, and he's beaten up and battered by the time he gets to the playoffs, and the Bruins light him up. You can't really blame him for that because they barely ever gave him a decent backup. There was a few years with backup Laney that were all right, but is McElhaney really the backup that you want? No, he wasn't going to really, confidently give us 40 quality starts. So that's kind of where the NHL is trending right now. But back to Marc-Andre Fleury, what is new news is that he might be sticking around again for another season in the NHL. And no, I don't think he's going to pop off and stick around for another 4 years and get that 150 wins or whatever he needs, but he's definitely going to solidify himself as one of the best goaltenders of all time, one of the most beloved goaltenders of all time, and probably just one of the most overall popular players of all time in Marc-Andre Fleury. So good on him. I'm happy that he wants to come back. He still has that fire to keep playing in the NHL, and that's fantastic. Is he going to stick with the Wild? That is his plan, that he wants to stay with the Wild and see them through these times. And yeah, I mean, that's fine. It's a great market. It's a fun up and coming team with a lot of young talent, but with those the salary cap issues that Minnesota has to deal with, it might be they're not looking like they're going to make the playoffs here. And, with that being said, it's not going to get any easier next season. So, I don't know. But as long as Marc-Andre Fleury stays in the league, I'm pretty happy about it. That's all good. And speaking of good, we have quite a few good topics to touch on here. Let's go to Arizona. They could always use a little bit of good news, eh? But how about Josh Doan? Oh my goodness, what a debut for this young man. 2 goals, and yes, he is in fact the son of legendary Arizona/Phoenix Coyote Shane Doan. So that is awesome, and I feel I've heard that he's dealt with a little bit of scrutiny when he got drafted. They felt like, oh, he's not talented enough to make it, but he's fucking Shane Doan's son. That he's got that leader built into him, and he's had one of the best leaders in the NHL, a very long-time captain in Shane Doan, helping his son out along the way, and he's off to a great start. I think he had 2 assists to go along with into his second game, so he's off to a fantastic start, and that's great for the Arizona, Phoenix, Atlanta, Salt Lake City Coyotes. Who knows? I have no idea what's going to happen with this team, but hey, a little ray of hope there with the next Doan coming in. And wouldn't that just be an amazing story for someday for Doan Jr. to become the next captain of a successful Arizona Coyotes? Who knows? Maybe they turn it around and it's all because of the Doans. So that would be a lot of fun. Speaking of a lot of fun, we got what? What's fun? Okay, Buffalo Sabres. We got 1,000 games for Jeff Skinner. Sort of a sad side note is that he's also not played a single game in the playoffs, which is like, wow, that's kind of impressive. I think there should be an award for that. To go that long without playing in the playoffs is, I really thought that he did play when he was there in Carolina, but no, I guess Carolina wasn't very, they went through a lot of lean years there in Carolina where they were just very mediocre, and Jeff Skinner was there. Young man, and yeah, he didn't do a lot of winning there in Carolina, and then he went to Buffalo, and they haven't won in anything in over a decade. So that sucks, man, because Jeff Skinner, he seems like a guy that would love to be in the playoffs. I feel like any NHL player would love to be there, but fuck, that is a long freaking time to have losing season after losing season after losing season. So, to go along with that, people always talk about that losing culture or where people are fine with losing. Is Jeff Skinner that kind of guy? Was he the right kind of guy to bring into Buffalo? A guy that's never, not to be rude about it, but not won anything, not ever had any playoff experience, and you're building a team over there that needs playoff experience, and they need, guys to get them there. And maybe Jeff Skinner doesn't have that mentality, and to play 1,000 games free with no playoffs. I haven't heard any interviews where he's like, I'm fucking happy as shit never to play in the playoffs. I love my summers off. But I mean, you gotta be like, oh shit, well, at least I get my summers off. That's a pretty nice bonus, but you're also losing out on playoff bonuses, extra moolah, and obviously, to build a legacy for your career, and you can earn a shitload of extra money in the playoffs. Not that Jeff Skinner needs any more goddamn money. He makes enough money, but yeah, man, that's just a really weird, interesting thing. I wonder if, is that a record? He's definitely got to be up there for some of the most games without a playoff appearance. That is semi-impressive. Speaking of impressive, we're going to take a look at the hottest teams in the NHL right now, mainly focusing in on the ones that are in playoff spots, because a lot of people, even myself, I mean, yes, it's a good thing to be hot going into the playoffs. You don't want to back into the playoffs like a certain team is, and generally you're going to go down in the first round. But let's just take a look and see how teams have been playing over the last 10 games according to NHL statistics, and we'll start with the Rangers because they're the hottest team, or they're the first place team in the league. Not necessarily the hottest because they lost their last game, but in their last 10, they're 7-3-0, and yeah, you got Jonathan Quick. You got a really hot team, man. I know a lot of people call them power play merchants. I mean, you need, not necessarily need to, but it's always a benefit to have a hot power play. It can get stifled by a really hot penalty kill, and if you rely too heavily on the power play, yes, you can lose a round. You can lose your playoffs by having a cold power play. It's happened numerous times before. They're on a one-game losing streak, not a big deal. They're playing really good right now. New York is hat. Well, the Rangers are hat. We also got Dallas. They have turned it the fuck on. And they've just kind of been, I'm not going to say, they definitely haven't been, they've just been quietly, I'm not going to say dominating, but they've just been good. And no one's really been questioning them. The hockey guy a little bit, here and there during their lulls. He's like, I'm a little bit nervous, but take this into consideration. This is kind of a veteran playoff team. A team that's been here and haven't quite made it. And this is a team that knows it's what do you call it? A marathon, not a sprint. It's an 82-game season. That's so many games. And it's also a huge grind for the playoffs. And Dallas has made it to the end and didn't quite get to that finish line. And I think this team knows what it takes to fucking go deep and to get there. And they're pacing themselves really nicely. They're turning it on at the right time. Jamie Benn has been amazing. I mean, I know that we're not getting the amazing performances out of Robertson, or he's getting like 100-plus points, damn near 50 goals, and Heinsohn, everyone's been a little bit down. Ottinger's been playing great lately, but, I mean, again, a slight comparison and reminder of the Detroit Red Wings back in the day before they won their cups. Stevie Y was putting up like fucking 150-point seasons, 60 goals, and once he started to realize that it's not just about points, it's about all-around play, and it's a team game, not just get points. So maybe that's what Dallas is realizing right now. Dallas is a massive threat. Huge threat. I would not want to be playing this team in the first round. We've seen what Ottinger is capable of doing in the playoffs. He can win series all by himself, and Dallas is an incredibly stacked team, front to back. Forwards are unreal all the way through, and their defense is tight. They got Tanev. They brought him in. Huge addition. That's a team I do not want anything to do with, honestly. We got the Bruins. They're 6-4-0. They're just kind of putting along. They had an incredible start, and, like I said, no easy matchup, but if I'm looking at the Bruins right now, they would be Again, not easy, but it'd be better than Carolina. It'd be better than probably New York. Florida's been fucking terrible lately, but we'll get to them. But, I mean, the Bruins, maybe they're trying to pace themselves too. Maybe they realize they maybe stepped on the gas a little bit too heavy at the beginning, and they're like, well, we're locked in, so you can never, ever count out Boston. So I will not do that. Boston is always a threat, especially in the playoffs. And look at their goaltending. I mean, Swayman could steal a series. Pasternak is an incredible threat at all times, and it's just the Bruins. They terrify me. Carolina, arguably the hottest team in the league right now, one of them, and also very terrifying. I mean, you look at that addition of Jake Gensel, it has been working. He has been an awesome fit right out of the gate, which is great for them. Is he going to be that piece that finally takes them over? I know it's a little bit silly, but is it going to be their Toronto Raptors Kawhi trade where it's like they finally pulled the trigger? It hurt. Yes, they had to get rid of DeMar DeRozan, one of my favorite players ever, but it worked and it had to be done. We all knew it had to be done. DeRozan and fucking Kyle Lowry couldn't take down LeBron James by themselves. They needed Kawhi. So they did that. Is that what Gensel is going to be for Carolina? I cannot wait to see what Carolina is going to do. The pressure is on. I said it last week. It is make or break for Carolina this year. They have so many guys on their contracts are coming up, so it's going to be a very different looking Carolina team next season. They're going to lose guys for certain, and I have no idea which ones they're going to pick. It's going to be a very hard decision, but yeah, it's big time, and Carolina's turning it on right now. They know it's time to get going, and I'm cheering for them. I'm rooting for them. We got Vancouver. They're kind of lulling their way into the playoffs. A lot of Vancouver fans are nervous at their play recently. Pettersson's been kind of cold. Brock Besser's turned it off. Thatcher Demko is injured, but he should be making a full return for playoffs, so we're not too worried about that. I think he's supposed to return a week before playoffs, so he should get a little bit of playing time to help him out, warm up a little bit, so that's okay. But yeah, Vancouver definitely off to a hot start, and things have cooled down. Hronek has been really, really quiet, and they haven't been playing as good. I mean, yeah, they were on a bit of a PDO bender at the beginning, and they're coming back down to reality. But yeah, they're a little bit of a questionable team. I would not be shocked if they get knocked out in the first round, but I wouldn't be shocked if they won in the first round. They're a really good team as well, and you got that ace in the hole of Thatcher Demko. We saw what he almost did to, I think it was Vegas, where he almost beat them single-handedly. So, I won't count out Vancouver either. Colorado, one of the hottest teams. They are extremely hot. I will just mention the ending of Nathan MacKinnon's point streak. That is devastating. There's a lot of controversy behind it. A lot of people rallying, trying to get MacKinnon a point in that game. I didn't get to see a lot of what was going on there, but I heard the stories. I'm devastated by that. I was like, shit, I really wanted him to have that. That would have been so cool. But sadly, the Nathan MacKinnon point streak has ended, but I don't really think Nathan cares. He wants another cup, and they're playing great right now. A little bit of a goalie controversy going on there in Colorado with this Annunen guy, the backup, maybe starter, who knows. He's been playing really good, and Gorgiev's been, I know he's been an all-star, but he started out really good, and he's been kind of just meh, so there might be a short leash for Gorgiev in the playoffs. I feel like he's probably still going to be the starter. He's not necessarily lost the net yet, but he's also paid as the starter. So you're probably going to start with him, but if he gets fucking shelled in game one, they're quickly going to go to Annunen in game two, in my opinion. So Colorado looks really deadly. Wouldn't want to have anything to do with them because Nathan MacKinnon is an animal. Nichushkin has just been... wow. I mean, what a game changer that guy is. Hopefully he doesn't disappear halfway through their playoff run, and maybe Colorado wins themselves another cup. And then we got the Florida Panthers, who have not been playing well at all lately. 2-7-1 in their last 10 games. Lost 2 in a row here, and what the heck is going on with Florida? I don't really know what is going on with Florida right now. They're not winning, and they're just not getting any goals, I guess. because I'm seeing quite a few shutouts here for the Florida Panthers over the last few weeks. But again, this team, they backed into the playoffs, did they not last? Oh, wait, no, they didn't. They fought their way in. So I don't know. This team, I feel very confident that they're a team that can back into the playoffs and be okay, because this team, they can turn it on, and they turned it on at the Bruins. I feel like but they could also, that could be a very bold strategy, Cotton, but I wouldn't be shocked if Florida just turned it on down the stretch here. They very well could, but lately, not playing very good. They need to get some goals, and they got to stop letting in so many damn goals. They're letting in a lot of goals right now. Toronto lit them up. That would be a really fun series, but again, Florida's a very tough team. Toronto did get a lot tougher than they were last season. Florida also doesn't have Gudas anymore. But they do have Cousins, so that's just another problem to deal with. Now we got Vegas playing good now. They're out of the bottom of the wild card, so they seem to be safe. 7-2-1 in their last 10. Looks like they're doing well. Hurdle, he's still injured. Stone's still injured, but they're getting through it. Everyone hates Vegas, but I'm fine with Vegas. They should be fine. Nashville's kind of, they're starting to, I won't say peter out. They're 6-3-1 still in their last 10, but they have lost 3 in a row. So that is that thing I've warned of, where you go on a big point streak, winning streak, and then you lose that first game, and you lose a lot of that momentum, and you can easily fall into a losing streak. So Nashville may end up, they're still a terrifying team to want to handle in the first round because they were so damn hot, but maybe they end up cooling off and they back their way into the playoffs over the last week. So Nashville's a team to watch, but another super hot team, maybe one of the hottest teams in the league, is the other Florida team, Tampa Bay. 8-1-1 over the last 10 games. They're on fire, and they are threatening to possibly pass the Toronto Maple Leafs. They're right there. They have, 89 points. The Leafs have 95. So it's still within grasp. The Leafs are I won't say comfy just yet, but they're in an okay spot. The Leafs potentially could pass Florida. Maybe Florida's trying to move down. Who knows? They might be playing 3D chess while we're playing checkers over here. But Tampa is thriving right now. They're on fire, and that is a deadly team to play in the first round. Obviously, they won 2 cups in a row. A lot of those main pieces are still there, so similar to Boston, you never just want to pull Tampa Bay in the first round. The Leafs got hella lucky last year. I will admit the Tampa Bay Lightning were the better team in that series, but that's the way she goes sometimes. That's happened to the Leafs, where they've been the better team and lost. It happens a lot. But let's take a look now. That's all the teams I wanted to talk about. There's some hot teams that aren't in the playoffs, like St. Louis for some reason is playing well right now, and I imagine their fans aren't digging that because it doesn't look like playoffs are in their future. Now they're just hurting their draft spot. So let's take a look at the wild card, and Philadelphia is still in it. It's crazy. Kind of proud of them for still hanging in there for so long. Their goaltending has been an atrocity lately, so they could very well fall out at the last second and possibly get passed by Washington. Detroit is just out again, so some people are talking about Philly dropping out and gifting Detroit that playoff spot because, Philly would be a handful to deal with in the first round. They'd be more of a nuisance, just yeah, we can probably get by them, but boy, is it ever going to be a pain in the ass to do it because, they're just a really well-coached team by Tortorella. They're very defensive. They'll finish every check, and checks are so much harder in the playoffs. So I wouldn't like, the Leafs pulling a Philly-type team in the first round because the Leafs will get worn down, and if they get by them, Philadelphia is going to take a bite out of you. Even if you sweep them, that's still going to be 4 games of pain, brother. So I don't know. Philadelphia does not look good right now. They can't buy a save, and they're not winning. So it could be in the favor of Detroit. I kind of hope so, but Philly's been a really fun story. So I'm good with Detroit or Philadelphia. The Islanders are still kind of hanging around in there, man. They're not dead, and neither is the Penguins. I mean, the Penguins are still here. Even Buffalo a little bit. They're at 77 points. 82 points, man. We're getting really tight now. There's not many games left. Some teams have about 7 games. Some have less. Some a couple more. But yeah, it's at this point, 4 to 5 points to make up is quite a bit. Yeah, a lot of things have to go right. Like, you have to have Philadelphia having a goaltending crisis go on. Even though Fedotov has been freed, I will announce that now. He's been freed by the Russians. He's finally allowed to come to North America and play for the team that drafted him, had him under contract, and yeah, now he's here. He's huge. He's like 6'7", and yeah, Tortorella didn't yell at him when he yelled at the whole entire Philadelphia Flyers team. He was like, but not you, Fedotov, you're key. So that was nice. Good to see that he's gotten out of there. It's always a very sketchy, kind of scary situation when that happens to guys. Like, they try to get out, and like Russia just says, nah, dog, you're staying here. You're gonna stay here for a long time, like it or not. And it's like, ooh, okay, that's not good, but yeah, I mean, it's still kind of a wide fucking open race right here for the East. Like, I could... Wow, okay, that's a lot of fun. Let's take a look at the West. It's been a little less fun over there in the West. And, I mean, St. Louis, you're not dead yet. With this hot streak that they're going on, they got 84 points. Los Angeles has 87. So, Los Angeles has one game in hand. Los Angeles is playing better, but not great. I mean, they lost 3 in a row, and St. Louis is hot. So, fuck, maybe the Kings blow it and they fall out because the Vegas Golden Knights are back into third spot in the Pacific. Edmonton's looking good. They should be just dandy. Vancouver has 100 points. You know, they've clinched their playoff spot. They're good to go. Yeah, man, St. Louis is still in it. Hold on. How is Minnesota doing? We got 81 points. Yeah, that's tough. That's the difference, man. That's 3 points you need. Yeah, that's going to be tough. I'm rooting for Minnesota because, you know, Marc-Andre Fleury, they got a fun team. They're really the big underdogs with the salary cap disadvantages and all of that stuff. So it's still open, man. It's not dead quite yet, but oh, wait, hold on. We got to talk about one team that has been icy, and this happened to them last year, and it didn't go well, and that is the Winnipeg Jets. They backed into the playoffs last year, and they kind of got absolutely dummied by... Who the fuck did they play? I don't even remember who they played, but it was not even really close, man. They got absolutely devastated in that first round, and, you know, I remember that position was like, I think it was like Calgary, and Winnipeg was like, no, you take that final spot, and neither of them really seemed to want it, and then Winnipeg got in, and yeah, they got toasted, so... Is that in their future again for this season? I surely hope not. I feel like the team got a lot better this year with that Dubois trade. I felt really good about that trade and how they turned the team around from what seemed like utter turmoil and everything was falling apart to like, oh shit, they're good, they're great. Wow, Connor Hellebuyck is Vezina level again and Scheifele's back scoring, but not over the last like 2 weeks here. Like almost everybody has gone ice cold. Kyle Connor, my boy, what the fucking fuck happened? Like, he has been really bad out there, just struggling. Everyone is struggling right now except for like Hellebuyck. He's still keeping them in games that they probably, you know, don't really have a chance in. Just, yeah, Winnipeg not playing good right now, and this makes me nervous because this is exactly what was going on last year. It is a different team, but yeah, I'm not feeling great about Winnipeg and the way that they're playing. Not a good trend going on with Winnipeg. And we'll finish it off with just a touching news here on Washington. Apparently they are staying at Capital One Arena, and they will not be moving to Virginia. So a great thing, I would say, for the Capitals fans. You know, it would have been... You know, it was just a billionaire trying to save some money and just a billionaire being a billionaire. Like, really not cool, like the things he was trying to do. He's basically just trying to move the arena so that he can making the cities pay for more of it, which is just fucking garbage. Like, I hate that. I don't remember which one is privately funded, but there is an arena out there that was built all from the owners, and they took it all under their own, and that's how it should be. Like, the fans already give you guys so damn much, and you guys just keep asking for more and raising our taxes. The taxes. We forgot about the taxes. Never forget about the taxes. The tax man will be coming to get you, but not for Washington, because they're going to stay in the Capital One Arena, which is pretty key. Oh, and one final topic. I heard this on the 32 Thoughts, and it was the argument of bringing in extended playoffs. And I think it's Jeff was the one that was like, read the room, now is not the time to make extended playoffs. And Elliot was like, all in, let's fucking do it. It'll be so much fun. And yeah, 100%. I'm on Elliot's side. Like, why not? Look at what the NBA just did with that playoff round or play-in round. Like, why can't we do that again? I mean, yes, it backfired huge during that COVID lockout season where they had a bunch of teams that maybe didn't deserve necessarily to be in the playoffs, but I'm fine with having more teams getting into a playoff spot, and they have to still play to get into it. And then the idea of it is that the team just played 1, 2, maybe even 3 games, like a best of 2 series, and then you go play a rested higher tier team, and then you're playing a team that's played a couple of games. So the argument there is that, like, some people are of the mind, like, oh, you don't want to sit dormant for too long. You'll you'll lose that fire. And then guys that have played for their lives, literally their playoff lives, they're going to have that hunger and they're already going to be in that mode. So it might be a slow start for the other teams. So I don't know if that would be an advantage or a disadvantage for teams, but yeah, I wouldn't care if they brought in, maybe 2, just have an extra tier in the playoff, a little play-in round to make it a little bit more fun. Have a wild team in there. Like, I'm iffy on that, the Habs run to the finals. That really just kind of, in ways, made a mockery of some of the teams in the league just because of how bad the Habs were, how low they were in the league, and they still made it and then went to the Stanley Cup Finals only to get destroyed by the Tampa Bay Lightning. I don't know, man. Like, are we going to see that kind of thing? But it creates a lot of good stories for sure. It would create a lot of big upsets and a lot of underdog stories, which I'm always down for. But I don't know. I'll leave that one out to you. What do you think of extended playoffs? Would that be a good idea? And on top of that, Elliot brought up the point that would bring in more revenue. Obviously, playoff gates are huge. You make a lot more money there, which would then increase the salary cap, which then, will make the league more popular and bigger. And then as long as you can keep growing, that'd be great, right? So yeah, I'm fine with it. I'm down with it, but I'll leave that out to you. And there you go, everybody. That is the episode. A little bit quicker one because it is a hella busy week for me this week because WrestleMania, brother, it's coming. Gonna be a crazy freaking weekend, man. So much wrestling to watch this week, and it's gonna be a big wrestling week for the GX Plus cast here. I want to do a retrospective on the SmackDown versus Raw series I grew up with. I played the shit out of those games, so I've been dying for a long time on the GX Gamercast to talk about those games, and I will finally be doing so this week. So be on the lookout for that one. It's gonna be chaotic. Shit is just gonna be dropping. I'm going to have a WrestleMania Night 1, Night 2 review. I think there's an NXT pay-per-view as well. There's the regular recap for WWE and AEW. I'm doing this HockeyCast this week. So if you want to help me out, you want to be even more awesome than you are listening to this podcast or even possibly watching it on YouTube, hit that like button, revive the podcast. Sure, why not? Why don't you review it instead? Hit the stars, hit the like, tell your friends, tell your family, all that great stuff. If you have a friend that likes games, let them know about the Gamercast. They might like it. So, yes, thank you so much for listening. You're awesome. There's a YouTube channel, Gamer GX Videos, where I upload all of these. You can watch them over there. Great place to drop a comment or a question for the podcast, anything related to video games, hockey, wrestling, podcasting, questions in general. Just send them on in. I would love to read them live on the podcast, shout you out, answer your question, be a ton of fun. There's an email address available to you as well. If you want to have a private conversation, that's all good as well. And of course, there's the Twitter page where I try my best to throw up announcements and ideas and just thinks and thoughts that I may be having for the podcast. So you can follow along over there. All the links are down in the description box. And hopefully you're having a fantastic day. It is a gloomy, disgusting, wretched day here in Canada. My gazebo has gone. It's airlifted. It is not on this planet anymore. She gone. I lost another damn gazebo. It's the third one. I don't think my household is made for a gazebo, so I'm gonna go umbrella. I'm going umbrella and Ella. That's it. A under my. So I'm sorry for that Rihanna drop. I will never ever do that again unless I'm in the presence of my friend Kiao. All right, we're getting very off track here. Thank you, everybody, so much for listening. We'll be back again with some more GX Plus Cast.